Hello guys, NautoAis here, and this will be a response to Kit Krysta about how did this happen, which is amiibo basically raising the price up to $50. Of course, you've been following the story ever since the Street Fighter 6 and the Tears of the Kingdom Sages amiibo was revealed. They were more than what it's supposed to be, and people saw what's going on. People guessed it was tariff, and to some extent maybe it is tariff, because if you saw my video with Donkey Kong Bonanza, I give my impression with an amiibo. It is still made in China to some extent there, but I guess there is more than meets the eye credit to Kit Krysta, because for Furukawa, remember, he is business centric versus Iwata was more of innovation centric. Iwata is basically for the fans. Like, he knew what fans can afford to some extent, versus what Furukawa, he said, hey, look, if you're willing to buy this, go for it. So, I mean, you can see like black and white, the very opposite, the light, dark, you name it. They gave a bit of a history about the amiibo, and yeah, that's what it is. Kind of interesting. The reason why it was $13, Iwata wanted to be affordable, and it was meant for the casual. Remember, casual don't buy a lot of games. They're not willing to shell a lot of money. A hardcore will to some extent. I knew friends who willingly paid $200 for a NES Mini when it first came out. It's ridiculous. For me, I'm somewhere in the middle. I like my stuff like in a reasonable price. The lower, the better. But at the same time, I kind of understand where the business is coming from. Where a casual will always say, that's too expensive. No way. I'll wait for a sale. Or too bad. So sad. Sorry. You don't have my money. It is what it is there. Hardcore, they're willing to pay a lot of money. I knew friends who are G.I. Joe, Transformer, Hasbro, Mattel collectible. They're willing to pay the MSRP price of those figures because they understand where it's coming from. Casual, like I said, no. So when it comes to the amiibo in the beginning, Iwata wanted to be affordable for the casual because Nintendo IP expansion, which is the third pillar, believe it or not, amiibos are considered part of the third pillar, which is non-video game IP expansion entertainment. The idea is exposure of Nintendo in a way that's not what it is, a video game. It's like they said, entertainment, or something that when a casual see Mario, oh, that's Mario, maybe I'll play Super Mario Bros. Remember, I keep telling the story about the mobile game. Mobile game means, oh, maybe they'll play that game. Super Mario Run, oh, maybe I'll play Super Mario Wonder. Oh, look, Mario Kart, maybe I'll get Mario Kart World. Maybe. $80, probably not, but it is what it is. But what I'm seeing, I kind of agree with what Kit Krysta said. Furukawa's probably not aiming for the casual. He's focused more of the hardcore, and he's letting a lot of this hardcore say, hey, buy this game to a casual because they're good or whatever. That's why. Amiibo, like I said, it was cheap because, kind of like Kit Krysta said, because it was for the casual. But if you notice who are buying this, Nintendo fan, hardcore, people like collectible stuff, people who like anime figurine to some extent, and those are cheap. If you ever buy a lot of those anime figurines, they're sometimes $20 or more. I'm not kidding. Those 3-inch one, they can go up to $20. Heck, even more. It depends on how popular it is. That's just how it goes. And that's not even tariff to some extent. So what's happening now, beside tariff, I agree with what Kit Krysta said. Furukawa is probably saying, hey, look, the casual are not buying amiibo. They don't really care. Kids, to some extent, don't buy them. I mean, there are some, but from what I understand, they are a minority, sadly, but it is what it is. Remember, the amiibo was the idea for the casual, but the hardcores are getting them. And they're noticing, hey, look, they're willing to buy that. That's why it went to $17 to some extent, is, from what I understand, is they had to raise the price. Iwata admitted that for $13, they're not getting a lot of return. To some extent, Lucina and Robin, I keep talking about those because if you notice the detail versus Kirby, the returns for those two amiibo are not a lot versus Kirby. So that's why, in the case of Furukawa, he's thinking about variable price for each amiibo. That's why Ganondorf, like I said, is $20. Kaiju Pikachu, $30 because it's big. 2-pack, $30 to $40. Sort of makes sense. At one point, there's the reason why they don't do 3-pack, because even so, some people are willing to pay like $40, $50 for it. Not a lot of people are doing it, and that's just a waste of resource on the packaging. So why not just get them separately? Yeah, you can cut a cost. Maybe there should be like a special, just a bundle price. Like, hey, look, you buy all three of them, you get like 10% off. Kind of like what IFI is doing with the Rebirth Trilogy. Kind of makes sense, but it is what it is there. And then suddenly later on, if you notice the later ones, they're becoming higher. Ganondorf, like I said, for Tears of the Kingdom, $20. Zelda and Loftwing, $24. Because again, it's 2-figure in one base. And then 2-packs are becoming now $30 because they're saying, well, we're not making a lot of money, so we have to raise the price. And now in 2025, because of, to some extent, tariff, but also other thing, they're also, and again, credit to Kit Krysta, they're finding ways to get their money back from what they're doing. And they're saying, hey, you know what? The hardcore are willing to pay anything for the amiibo to some extent. I don't. I'm waiting for a sale. So let's see if they're going to do a sale in 2026. But they're saying, like, hey, look, the hardcores are willing to pay them. They're paying them for full price. Why not just let them deal with it? The casual's not going to buy them. Forget about them. And again, I hate to agree, but it's true. I have to agree with this thing. It sucks. And you might say, why is it all suddenly, ever since with the Switch 2, everything's about money, money, money. Like, we want to get something back. Well, that is what a business. Remember, in the case with the Wii U, there is a rumor when the Wii U wasn't doing good, an investor was actually upset and said to Iwata, you better find a way to make money. I'm not happy what's going on because they lost money 2 straight years and they don't like that. That's why there was a story about they were considering making Iwata to step down. That's not a joke. That's why a lot of people say Iwata stepped down because some of the shareholder did consider. But if it wasn't for Mario Kart 8, they said, okay, we're going to give you a second chance. That's how it goes. You might say, what's with all this greed? Why is the game store so expensive? Well, Kit and Krysta basically said was because they're developing games in 4K. Donkey Kong Bonanza, Mario Kart World, and those Switch 2 game, they can go up to 4K. And then some of those Switch 1 game that has Switch 2 edition, they're going out to 4K. And some of them updating to 4K. Some of them are free. That probably costs money. So, well, we got to figure a way to make our money back. It is what it is. To some extent, that 4K for them, I guess, is so expensive that they got to do something, offset the price by saying, you know what, all our first-party games now, it's going to be $70. I mean, it's up to you if you want to buy it at full price. I mean, people are doing it, so it tells Nintendo that, hey, you have no problem with it. And like I said, I wasn't even intending to get Donkey Kong Bonanza, but a friend of mine got it because it was $62 at Costco, and he's a Donkey Kong fan. That's why he just bought them. Like, okay, like, calm down. Stop buying those Switch 2 games. I mean, as of right now, a lot of those games are just Switch 2 edition. They're not really real Switch 2 games. The Legend of Zelda, Age of Imprisonment, is not really Switch 2, believe it or not. Originally, it was going to be on the Switch 1. It ran like ass, so they said, let's just move it to the Switch 2. There you go. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is not a Switch 2 game. It has a Switch 2 edition. So right now, I think the other game that they basically said is going to be a Switch 2 exclusive was Fire Emblem Fortune Weaves, but that's it. But a lot of people did say that, that looks like a Switch game, shinier version, I guess that's what it is. So anyway, back to Amiibo. To some extent, I have to agree with Kit and Krysta what they're saying. It is kind of bullshit. If you're looking at it in the perspective of a business, it kind of makes sense. They are aiming the Amiibo now to the hardcore. The target audience and the real audience are the same. Normally when you do target audience and you're trying to get the mass, Amiibo's not working. Casual don't give a shit to some extent. Maybe they get 1 or 2. Hardcore, they collect them all. I collect them all because I'm sick in the head. Casual, they don't. That's the same. So they're saying, hey, you know what? Casual don't give a shit. Let's just aim it with the hardcore. They're willing to pay them because, I seen people who bought the Street Fighter Amiibo for $40. Like some of them said, hey, I got the money. Why not? More power to you. People even bought the Tears of the Kingdom Sages Amiibo for $30 each because they're willing to do it. I got mine for $24 at the Best Buy because they had some sale. If I knew that this was going to happen, I would probably just get it at GameStop or Amazon because as of right now of this recording, they are $20. What does this mean? Well, push comes to shove is that maybe others retail might reconsider buying Amiibo from Nintendo. Like, hey, we're not going to buy them. Nobody's buying them. We have to lower the price in our end and we're not making money. So we just have to wait and see what's going on there. Maybe in the long run, there is going to be some adjustment. Hopefully, but as of right now, wow, so ridiculous that some of these Amiibo are very expensive. But again, to give credit what's due, what Kit said, if you do notice a lot of these new Amiibo, there are better quality than the before one. probably they are putting more resource. Like the reason why I believe that Mario and Luma and Rosalina and Lumas are $4, besides they're being big, there's a lot of things that's happening with an amiibo. There's a stand, there's the design. In the case of Rosalina, there's the chair. For every a bit of item that you're putting on an amiibo, like a figure, if a figure itself, that costs money. Okay, you put a chair in for Rosalina to sit in, that's another research that's cost. You adding Luma, that's another cost. Mario with the Warp Star, that also costs money, to a point they said, hey, this now costs $40. Should they done it? Probably not. Why are they doing it? Maybe it's a premium amiibo because, again, it's celebrating the 40th anniversary of Mario. Hardcore's probably going to buy them. As of right now, they're sold out. But chances are they're not making a lot. We'll just have to wait and see. Kirby with the Swap Force feature. People probably like that. And again, remember, the amiibo feature was based on Sakura's favorite friends point. So they believe in Sakura. They're probably going to buy it. For Metroid, a lot of people like Metroid amiibo. I knew friends that love them. So, again, it is what it is. So, I can agree with what Kit Krysta said. It is unfortunate, but in the perspectiveness, makes sense. Casual don't give a shit about amiibo to some extent. The hardcores are. They're aiming for them. They are willing to pay that price to some extent. Not everyone, but if someone does, it means that some are willing to pay for that price. I'm not. And again, reason, Kit Krysta basically said, because you're aiming for the hardcore, they're willing to pay. Maybe the tariff, they have to fix it. Maybe they need to raise the price of amiibo because developing games in 4K, they're having a hard time. Even so, it's not the Wii U situation where they had a game drought because they couldn't make games in HD. Somehow they actually learned, and at least for their Switch 1 game, they're giving them 4K features to some extent. Props to them about it. So there you go. Yes, so that is a response to Kit Krysta. I hate to admit it, but it kind of makes sense in the perspective of business. Don't like it, but it is what it is there. So with that, I'll see you guys later.